Okay, parallel lines with a transversal. If you've got parallel lines like this and you cut it with another line, that line is called a transversal. The transversal doesn't necessarily have to cut through parallel lines. It just needs to cross through 2 or more lines. So this is also transversal. It's cutting through 1, 2, 3 lines, and they don't have to be parallel. But for this chapter, and what we're going to study, is we're going to study what happens when that transversal is cutting through parallel lines here. So our first thing we want to talk about is if two parallel lines are intersected by a transversal, then our corresponding angles are equal measures. So corresponding, if I take this one and I slide it right down on top of here, it lands on this other angle. And so this angle up here that I'm calling 1, let me mark it so you can see it, this angle right there, is the same measure and corresponds to this measure, this angle down here when I slide that down. Okay, so there's a picture of my corresponding angles. These two angles correspond. So whenever I draw that in my picture area in my notes, I'm going to have my two parallel lines. I'm going to draw my transversal. And I know that this angle right here is the same as this angle right there in measurement. And if I give those a number, so this is like angle 1 and this is angle 2, I can say the measure of angle 1 is congruent to, congruent meaning the same measure, the measure of angle 2. Actually, if I say the measures, then I would be saying that they are equal. So let me put that as equal. The measures of them are equal to each other. So up here, what you're going to write is you're going to write that corresponding, let me make this a little bit smaller here, corresponding angles are equal measure or equal in measure. Okay, and that's how you're going to fill in the table for that one. The next one down is basically just the opposite. If we don't know that the lines are parallel, and we know that this angle down here is the same as this angle up there, so we know that this is 123 degrees. Well, let's make that 123 degrees. And if that's 123 degrees, then, and this one's also 123 degrees, it's given to us in the picture, then we know that these two lines have got to be parallel. And we put the little arrows on the lines to signify parallel. And so our picture that you could draw in here would be if you've got your parallel lines and it's being cut by a transversal, and we know that this angle and this angle are the same measure, then our lines have got to be parallel. So we write if, again, let me get this a little bit smaller, if corresponding angles congruent, let's go with congruent, congruent, then lines are parallel. Oops, parallel. So we've got some notation in here. So that means angles, and that means parallel, and then we have our last one here, which means congruent, same measure. Make that smaller. And the symbol there for that is that one. So congruent, same measure. So parallel, symbol for angles. And if you just want one angle, you can just have that means angle. So we've got angle, we've got angles, we've got parallel, and we've got congruent for different symbols. Okay. And we'll just keep those coming onto our different lines so we know what we're talking about here. Okay, so our next one we're going to talk about is interior angles. So if 2 is an interior angle, and I slide this angle 2 right down here, and I name this other angle angle 3, we know that 2 and 3 have to form a linear pair. 2 and 3 are supplementary. So angle 2 and angle 3 are supplementary when they're like this. And then if I just slide angle 2 up here, angle 2 and angle 3 still have to be supplementary. Okay, I haven't changed the measure of angle 2 and I haven't changed the measure of angle 3, and we saw for sure that they were supplementary down here, so just because I slide it up here doesn't change anything. So angle 2 and angle 3 have to be supplementary. So our picture, we have our parallel lines. We're going to cut that with our transversal. We're going to talk about these two angles here, and you're going to call them angle 2 and angle 3. Down here you're going to say angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equals 180. And let's me go back and move that all over just a little bit and add an M up here. So the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equals 180. And what I write in this part is interior angles on the same side of this transversal. So interior means interior of my parallel lines, and on the same side of my transversal. So 2 and 3 are on the same side and they're in the interior, they're between the parallel lines. So interior angles on the same side are supplementary. And that's what you put in that box right there in your notes. So that talks about our interior same side. Same side. Interior same side. Okay, so our next one, if we know that our interior same sides are supplementary, then our lines have to be parallel. So as long as these two form that linear pair when I move this down here, then our two lines have to be parallel. There's no way around it. So my picture, if I've got my two parallel lines, hopefully you're doing a better job of drawing them than I am. So two parallel lines, and you've got your interior angles here and here. And that's angle 2 and that's angle 3. And if we have the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equals 180, then we know that these two lines have to be parallel. So I say if interior angles on the same side are supplementary, then the lines are parallel. And remember that little thing right there, those symbols represent two parallel lines. Okay, let's move those over here, put them on here, and go to the next slide. Okay, so angles, parallel, congruent, same measure. So alternate interior angles. Alternate means to go the opposite. So on, off, on, off, on, off. I'm alternating between on and off. Boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl. I'm alternating between a boy and a girl. So I'm going the opposites. So this 2 would be alternate with this 2 down here, but that looks funny when I do this. So if I flip this around, you're going to notice that it matches up perfectly down here. So the angle where this came from, this angle up top here, and this angle down here have to be the same measure. So that's angle 2. I'll put angle 2 back where it came from. And I'll call this one angle 4. So 2 and 4 have to be the same measure. So our picture, 2 parallel lines, got our transversal, and we have the opposite or alternate interior angles. So this is interior again, interior. So that's the interior between the 2 parallel lines, and these are on opposite sides. So alternate means opposite sides. Okay, so we got opposite sides, alternate, interior between the parallel lines. And those 2 angles, so let me give them a number up here. So we called this a 2, we called that a 4, and we know that the measure of angle 2 has to be equal to the measure of angle 4. And we say up here that alternate interior angles are the same measure, and we call that congruent. Okay. Alternate interior angles are the same measure, and you could be using that congruent symbol. Remember, that congruent symbol is that one. Okay. Alternate interior angles are the same measure. Congruent. Okay, on to the next picture. If 2 sides, and put up our notation here. Okay. If 2 lines intersect by a transversal, such as a pair of lines are alternate interior angles, are equal, then our lines are parallel. So we're saying if this angle 2, right here, and this angle 4, let's put 4 back on there, have the same measure, then our lines have to be parallel. Okay, so drawing picture, we've got our parallel lines, transversal, we've got the alternate interiors there and there. My picture is getting too small. Let's see if I can fix this a little bit. Move that one up, move that one down. There we go. Put my little arcs back in there. There we go. That gives me enough room to write. So that is angle 2, and that is angle 4. And if we know, so if angle 2 is the same measure as angle 4, congruent, then lines are parallel. Oops. Parallel. Lines are parallel. That's more like a parallel symbol. Okay. In writing, alternate interior angles are congruent. Let's put that congruent symbol in there so we get used to using it. Then lines, not question marks, they are parallel. So if alternate interior angles are congruent, then our lines are parallel. On to the next page. And there's our notation. So if two lines are parallel, alternate exteriors also have to be congruent. So this 3 up here, let's mark that 3. So that is this angle up top. And we take that one and we flip it around, just like we did before with the angle 2. We can slide it right there. I can actually get this thing to flip right. And it will match up perfectly over here. So alternate again means opposite sides. So alternate opposite side. And then exterior means the outside. So this is on the exterior up here. And this would be the exterior down here, because those are on the outside of the parallel lines. And so that has to be the same measure as that one there. So let me put 3 back where it came from. And oops, wrong one. I want to move that one up here. So 3 goes back where it came from. And let's put a 5 right there. So this is angle 5. So this is on the exterior, this is on the exterior, and they are on opposite sides. So angle 3 and 5 are on the opposite sides. So in the box, what we should write. So we've got our parallel lines. We have our transversal. We know that this one is going to be alternate exterior to that one. So this is 3, and this is 5. And we know that angle 3 has the same measure as angle 5. Congruent, has the same measure. So we write alternate exterior angles are, and we can put that congruent symbol. Okay, alternate exterior angles are congruent. They have the same measure. Okay, last one for the prelim stuff. So if we know that the alternate exterior angles are congruent, so if we know that this angle up there is congruent to this angle down here, then our lines have to be parallel, using our parallel symbol again. So the picture you guys should draw. Sorry, you should have a little box there. So if my lines are parallel, then and alternate exterior angles are congruent. Let's see, this is a 3 up here. I said 3. It's not going to like 3. Let's change it off of that and just put it back to the pen. This is a 3, and this is a 5. So, if angle 3 is congruent to angle 5, lines parallel. Okay, up here we want to use all the vocabulary we can. So if alternate exterior angles are congruent, let's put the congruent symbol in there, then lines parallel. You can see how we're starting to get more and more abbreviations to get through so you can get used to them. So if alternate exterior angles are congruent, then lines are parallel. Okay, and I need to add the parallel symbols back onto here. So this one is parallel to that one.